Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class, the 12th of July, 2025. Okay, we'll be dealing with the editions of Esther by the Apocrypha. We'll read some of that and connect some dots. You can go to our YouTube channel, the Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. If you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. This is a non-Messianic channel for those that don't know. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay. This channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up in these last days to their true identity. Okay. Shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. We'll open it up for any questions, comments, or any dialogue anybody have. Our topic for discussion is the dollar's collapsing and you need to get ready. So we're going to play that and then break it down according to scripture. And then, like I said, we'll be reading out the Apocrypha. We'll be reading the editions of Esther. Okay. And then after that, we'll pick a scripture. We'll break that scripture down, and then we'll close out. Okay. It's a moment of silence for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore, we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments, the testimony, and your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord. Hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay. Okay, I read Psalms 3. It's a prayer for confidence. Right. Lord, Psalm of David. Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no hope for him in God. Selah. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of my head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his over hill. Selah. I laid me down and slept. I awake, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. The blessing is upon thy people. Selah. So the last verse, like I said, it tells us who the Savior is. Salvation belongeth to the Lord. So that's the Lord of hosts. And thy blessings is upon thy people. So if it was JC, you would have said that right here, salvation belongeth to Jesus. But it says salvation belongeth to the Lord of hosts. And thy blessings is upon thy people. Okay. Any comments, questions on that? Okay, let me get this right quick. Okay. Okay, so with that being said, We'll go to some current events, play them, and then we'll break them down.
Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, has just shocked the world after he wrote a letter to all the 54 head of state, telling them that they are supposed to unite as Africans. Something that has shocked everyone is that these are the president that replied to the letter and what they had to say. You are going to talk about the president that agree that Africans should unite and the president that didn't agree to the letter of Ibrahim Traore, where they have been insinuating that they want Ibrahim Traore to step down because he's officially elected as the president of Burkina Faso. But there are some of the that agree to whatever that Ibrahim Traore had said. I'm going to start with the name of the president that doesn't agree to whatever that Ibrahim Traore said about unity amongst head of state in Africa. This is something that people were waiting for. This is something that has shocked everyone. That why are some of head of state don't want Africans to be united, and why some head of states wants Africa to unite. These are the first name of head of state that did agree with Ibrahim Traore, and they say that they can never ever work with Ibrahim Traore. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the love. God bless you. God bless you. If you are new here, kindly subscribe and click the notification button for you to never ever miss any story that we post here in our channel, because we always focus on whatever that is trending in the world of internet. We are here to educate you. We are here to make sure that Africans are united. We are here to give you trending news, more so whatever that is happening in Africa. Ibrahim Traore shocked the whole world after he had written a letter to all head of state in Africa. These are the president that declined to the request of Ibrahim Traore, and also these are the president that accepted the request of Ibrahim Traore about unity amongst Africa. The presidents that declined to the request of Traore, number one is the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, who has been in power for almost 42 years, and he has done totally nothing to the people in Cameroon. Paul Biya, who declined to the request of Ibrahim Traore. Everyone was anticipated for that because this president is the biggest puppet in Africa. They're practically elected, that he needs to stop whatever that he's doing and he needs to go home. The president of Sierra Leone, known as Julius Maada Bio, who declined to the request of Ibrahim Traore. This is something that people saw it coming. This is something that people were anticipating for it. The other president is the president of Kenya, William Kipchirchir Arap Ruto. We say that if there is no democracy, we are not going to negotiate with any militia government. That is he is the president of Kenya, William Kipchirchir Arap Ruto. I'll be telling you that Ruto is a chameleon. You know very well that last month the chief of staff, the chief security personnel of Burkina Faso was here in Kenya. That was Omar Yabre, was here in Kenya, right? The Africans are loving one another. The president of Angola, Joao Lourenço. The other president is the president of Ghana, John Mahama, who has come out and said that he really loves Ibrahim Traore and is ready to accept the request of Ibrahim Traore to work together as Africans head of state. The other president is the president of Senegal, Faye, who has come out and said that Ibrahim Traore is a young leader and is ready to work with him on uniting Africans. The other president is the president of Chad, known as Debi Mahamat. Really loves Ibrahim Traore and is ready to support Traore. The other president is the president of Namibia, Nendi Ntumbo, the female president who has come out very vibrant, very eloquent, has come out and said that he really loves and he has agreed to the request of Captain Ibrahim Traore. The other president is the president of Gambia, known as Adama Barrow, really accept Traore's request of uniting Africa. The other president is the president of South Sudan, known as Salva Kiir. Salva Kiir has come out and said that these West are using us, these West have been using us for their own self-interest. Whatever that Ibrahim Traore wants us to do as head of state, Salva Kiir, the president of South Sudan, has said that he's ready to work with African head of state.
Okay. Any comments on that? What do you think? Okay, we go to the next one. Let's see. Yeah, here we go.
European capital
Let's see. Okay.
happen, and now all are asking the same question. Why are Russian warships docking at African ports with little fanfare but immense consequences? Why are diamonds, uranium, oil, and fish quietly changing hands in deals that were never debated in any Western parliament? Why are presidents across West and Central Africa turning their backs on their old French masters, only to open their arms to Moscow's embrace? This is not Cold War nostalgia. It's a seismic shift, one where embassies are opened faster than trade schools, where Russian engineers lay pipelines in Congo, while NATO analysts scratch their heads in Brussels, where African soldiers train with Kalashnikovs, not as rebels, but as state-backed patriots. And the world? Mostly silent, or maybe just caught off guard. From Freetown's Atlantic edge to Mali's desert reactors, from refrigerated ports in Sierra Leone to nuclear dreams in Burkina Faso, a quiet but radical realignment is underway. The Western world calls it Kremlin overreach, but African leaders are calling it self-reliance. So what really happened? Why are we seeing Russian ships near Sierra Leone? And how is Russia kicking the West out of Africa? In this video, let's find out. Russian ships are now near Sierra Leone, but they didn't come with guns. They came with nets, scientists, and cold storage plans. And that, believe it or not, is what makes them more powerful. In a world where diplomacy is no longer about flags and speeches, but about who controls the ports, pipelines, and protein, Russia's arrival in Sierra Leone is not just an economic transaction. It's a signal, a shift, a challenge. Under a new deal, Sierra Leone is preparing to grant Russia a fishing quota of 40,000 metric tons per year, an enormous stake in the country's maritime resources. Along with it comes permission to bring up to 20 Russian vessels into its exclusive economic zone. But this isn't the same old story of foreign fleets exploiting Africa's waters. This time, something's different, and it starts with science. Before a single net was cast, both countries launched a joint marine expedition called the Great African Expedition to survey fish stocks, assess biomass levels, and understand the delicate ecosystems of Sierra Leone's waters. That kind of baseline research, unheard of in most previous foreign fishing agreements. Earlier, European and Asian fleets had long dominated West African waters, with little transparency or local consultation, often strip mining fish stocks and undermining local fisherfolk. But this time, Sierra Leone was in the room from the beginning, asking questions, setting terms, and co-producing the data. And then came the shocking revelation that Russia is offering more than just access to fish. The deal includes modernization of Sierra Leone's port infrastructure, which is currently outdated and incapable of handling large-scale exports or cold chain logistics. Further, the deal includes upgrading the fishing fleet, with newer vessels being introduced or supported, especially for local use. Coastal refrigeration systems will be set up, which are essential for preserving catch and enabling fish to be processed, stored, or sold, something that Sierra Leone has historically lacked. Russia also announced training and investment in monitoring and oversight to help Sierra Leone enforce sustainable fishing and prevent illegal trawling. In other words, this is a strategic infrastructure deal disguised as a fisheries agreement. Russia isn't just catching fish, it's buying long-term influence along the West African coast. That influence isn't secured through military bases or puppet regimes. It's earned through the quiet power of technical assistance, joint projects, and boots-on-the-deck partnerships. Now the question is, why didn't the West do this first? Well, despite decades of development cooperation, Western nations did not help Sierra Leone build its ports. European vessels took fish, but they processed them abroad. They created wealth offshore, not onshore. No cold chains, no job pipelines, no real knowledge transfer. In fact, when the European Union offered sustainable fishery partnerships, many African countries later complained they were exploitative in practice. Russia, on the other hand, is offering something different. Not entirely selfless, but structured to include local capacity building. And that's the practical form of win-win cooperation. Russia is giving Sierra Leone a port facelift, modern tools, and a role in determining the ecological boundaries of the deal. It's not aid, it's a business deal. But this time, the African side has leverage. Now, Freetown isn't begging, it's bargaining, and it's doing so from a place of rising confidence, bolstered by broader geopolitical shifts across the continent. As more African nations move away from their old colonial patrons, they are looking for alternative alliances, ones that don't come with lectures about governance, IMF conditionalities, or unkept promises. Before we...
Okay, so we see right here the other day, a lot of people was wondering why Trump had those 5 African countries come to the White House. Just one of them, Sierra Leone, was one of those countries. And what he's trying to do is you say what's going on with China and Russia with these countries because they're losing ground. Okay. And it ended up being an embarrassment, by the way. Okay. Any comments with that? Okay, here we go. Some need to know information. I don't know if anybody know anything about this, but let me see. Okay, let's see what a minute. Okay. Okay, I'll play this right now and then I'll come back to that.
I think that this is a response to Operation Spiderweb. You know, the attack that took place on June 1st. Russia has really ramped up that, okay, they're gonna finish this militarily. There's no intent to negotiate. Negotiating into this is just it's a Western fantasy, and I think the Russian leadership recognizes they have no alternative but to crush Ukraine militarily on the battlefield, and by extension crushing the West. So, you know, the absurdity of Donald Trump said, oh yeah, he's going to send 10 missiles, 10 Patriot missiles to Ukraine.
You know, hearing Larry lay it out, what jumps out is the gulf between Washington's sound bites and Moscow's resolve. When a side keeps repeating no negotiation while moving fresh brigades forward, that isn't a bluff. It's a statement of capacity. 10 Patriots make great TV, but they don't shift a war that's become industrial in scale. History says these conflicts end only when one army physically can't stand in the field anymore. Sadly, where are we at?
The Russians have a decided advantage with respect to drones and missiles. And then down in Zaporizhia in particular, in the south, and the Russians are advancing rapidly. They're taking 2 or 3 towns a day. The same in Donetsk. There are
2 towns a day may look small on a map, but it signals momentum. Once an army finds rhythm, defenders burn reserves faster than they can replace them. A lesson from Kursk to Fallujah. Kiev's friends talk factories, yet new missiles take quarters, not days, to roll out.
Forming a big cauldron or pocket around Pokrovsk, and then Pokrovsk, once they take that, that is going to basically be like unlocking a door, and it is going to open the way for more rapid advance to finish the conquest of Donetsk and the expulsion of all Ukrainians.
Because someone panicked. Guardrails, hotlines, even boring diplomacy save lives precisely because humans don't always act logically when the pressure spikes.
How influential is Turkey together with the United States on the policies in Azerbaijan and the way that they would behave?
Well, no, I think Turkey is enormously influential in this, and that is collaborating. I mean, this Erdogan wants to be the man. He wants to be, the new sultan, if you will, of the whole area.
Erdogan's bid to play regional kingmaker turns every border into a bargaining chip. Ankara controls energy routes, grain corridors, and drone exports, so Moscow and Brussels both court him. It's three-way chess where each pawn is a real town, easy to topple, painfully slow to rebuild.
And to that end, Azerbaijan's been playing along. But Russia still has some resources and ability to exercise some influence in there. Aliyev is playing a very dangerous game, and if Russia's not going to permit Aliyev to create a real threat to Russia, they'll take him out before that. And in the same way that the United States wouldn't allow that to go on in Canada or Mexico, just from self-interest, self-protection, self-defense.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. We're gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions about this morning or the women's line, men's line, anything during the week or their studies, anything they want to bring up, talk about it? Okay, I'm gonna play this and then we'll go into our topic for discussion.
CJ Wellerman, and in this episode, we reveal how China is modernizing the Iranian military to support fresh counterattacks against the state of Israel. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Israel may have succeeded in achieving air superiority over Iranian skies, killing Iranian generals and setting back the Persian country's nuke program by several months. But none of this has stopped Iran from overwhelming Israeli air defense systems and decimating Tel Aviv. This is the Zionist state on the receiving end of shock and awe, as entire apartment blocks and high-rise buildings were leveled by Iranian ballistic and hypersonic missiles, leaving Israel to count the cost of its unprovoked aggression, as Iran emerges from this latest skirmish more resilient and more powerful than ever before. It not only preserved its missile stockpiles, but also let it deepen its military relationship with China during the past 2 weeks, a move that has sent Israeli and American officials into a panicked tailspin.
Are you concerned about the Iran and China military cooperation?
Well, obviously, we're watching that. We're very concerned about that.
China has copped a lot of criticism for sitting passively on the sidelines during the so-called 12-day war. But to its credit, it did give Israel an unmistakable final warning at the United Nations last month.
And condemns Israel's actions that violate Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity.
Anybody who studies the Chinese Communist Party knows that it never wages war on somebody else's timeline. We are talking about a bureaucratic behemoth that to this day is guided by the ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu, who said that all warfare is based on deception and meticulous preparation, meaning that China will attack its enemies when it appears unready or unable. It wants its enemies to believe it's near when far away, and far away when it's near. And now, China is ready to join the fight against Israel, a presumption based on several points of data, starting with the fact that just 2 days after a broken ceasefire between the two states, an Iranian delegation traveled to Beijing to seek greater Chinese military assistance against the Zionist state.
On June 25th, just 24 hours after Iran and Israel reached a ceasefire agreement, Iran's defense minister, Aziz Nasirzadeh, hurried off to Qingdao, China, to attend a Shanghai Cooperation Organization defense ministers meeting. On the surface, this was just a routine multilateral diplomatic event. However, it was clear to those paying attention that Iran had just gone through a 12-day war with Israel and the US, during which its nuclear facilities were destroyed, its air defense systems were severely damaged, and domestic instability surged. Given these circumstances, Nasirzadeh's trip to China was anything but ordinary. It was an attempt to seek diplomatic support and strategic backing from the Chinese government.
Iranian pleas were answered on 18th June, when several mysterious Chinese cargo flights were detected near the country's airspace, before curiously dropping from radar.
A high-stakes mystery is unfolding in the skies over Central Asia, as tensions between Israel and Iran push West Asia to the brink of all-out war. Flight watchers have noticed something strange. Multiple massive cargo planes leaving China and vanishing near Iran. What were they carrying? Why did they go off the radar? And could this be a signal that China is quietly entering the conflict?
This unexpected development has left Zionists and American neocons hyperventilating over the prospect of closer military cooperation between China and Iran.
What's on those planes?
Yeah, we don't know, but we know this isn't good because those planes are turning off their transponders as they approach Iranian airspace. China is sending something it doesn't want the world to know. It could be ammunition, could be drones, likely about that, but it also could be nuclear weapons. We just don't know.
Unbelievable.
On Monday, Arab intelligence agencies confirmed that these secretive Chinese cargo planes delivered new surface-to-air missile platforms to the Iranian military. This new acquisition will replace the S-300 air defense system that Iran purchased from Russia, which proved totally ineffective against Israeli and American warplanes.
A blinding flash as waves of explosions blast Iran's capital overnight. Here, a terrified Iranian woman films from her window, then down on the street. They are hitting. They hit 3 or 4 back to back, she says.
Military experts consider Chinese HQ-19 air defense system to be so superior over its rivals that it could potentially change the balance of power between Israel and Iran, the same way it has given Pakistan a new advantage over its arch-rival, India.
China has reportedly offered Pakistan its HQ-19 missile defense system, a piece that can track ballistic missiles and hypersonic threats from thousands of kilometers away. Yes, you heard that right. Its radar range stretches up to 4,000 kilometers, and it can knock out threats flying at 10 kilometers per second. Now the question is, if Pakistan gets the HQ-19, could it shift the balance of power, especially in the field of aerial defense against India?
Iran is now...
So did you understand that and India is in BRICS together, but China giving these this military equipment to Pakistan to fight against India, and then not only that, they entered the war with Iran against China. So none of that's good. But like I said, it has to all take place though because it's part of prophecy. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, we'll go to our topic for discussion, which is it's a good thing. He says dollar is collapsing, and we need to get ready. So we'll check that out, see what he's talking about. Okay.
We broke up. BRICS is not, in my opinion, not a serious threat. But what they're trying to do is destroy the dollar so that another country can take over and be the standard. And we're not going to lose the standard at any time. If you have a smart president, you will never lose the standard. If you have a stupid president like the last one, you would lose the standard. You wouldn't have the dollar as you. And if we lost the world standard dollar, that would be like losing a war, a major world war. We would not be the same country any longer. We're not going to let that happen. The dollar, you ever hear the expression, dollar is king? The dollar is king. We're going to keep it that way, okay? We're going to keep it that way. We're going to keep it that way.
Over the past year or so, I have tried to focus on Bible prophecy and really teaching about what is important. I have been trying to keep our eyes on the kingdom and less about what's happening in this world around us. Because if you focus on what is important, regardless of these events happening in the world, if you keep your eyes on Yah and recognize what is truly important, then you will always be ready. I've been very much focused on the kingdom, and that will never change. But as we have entered into the second half of this year, and I believe that events will escalate more dramatically and swift, I only think it to be prudent to make sure that you understand truly what is happening behind the scenes, because Though it's right in front of our faces, unless the mainstream news really reports it, most people are going to be in the dark. And I honestly don't want these things to just surprise anyone when I had a chance to warn and update them. Over the past 6 months since Donald Trump took office, we have seen major events transpire. We saw the death of the Pope. Israel and the United States attacked Iran. Mass deportation in the United States with major protests, and the army being deployed on U.S. soil. We saw a major blackout on the Iberian Peninsula. We had major wildfires in California. In the beginning of the year, planes were crashing at random. India attacked Pakistan. Donald Trump put up major tariffs, disrupting worldwide trade. I mean, Donald Trump declared 150% tariffs on China for a brief period. I'm sure I'm forgetting things. I mean, that was just 6 months ago. It has been nonstop since Donald Trump has taken office. And the thing is that we are so programmed by news cycles that we forget things. Things happen, we focus on them, and then they leave the news cycle, and then it just goes away. We forget all about it. I mean, it was just at the end of 2024 where everyone was just focused on UFOs over the country. We are in a moment of change. Because our society is so heavily controlled, most of the world will not recognize that what's happened until it's too late. Now, there's nothing that we can do to change the course of events, but if you are not asleep to it all, you can move with more understanding and not be a lost sheep like the rest of the world is. Those of us waiting for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled understand that all of these things are just signs of chaos that are waving the flag that change is upon us. And if we are vigilant and remain strong and faithful, we will be ready. Now, with all those events that happened in the first half of the year, other than the attack on Iran, I don't think there is bigger news than the numbers that have been reviewed and quietly spoken of just now. We are now entering a post-US-led world order, and we will not see the full scale of this until their agendas are complete. But with what has been revealed, I think it's important that I highlight it very briefly so that those of you who truly understand what's coming in this world, you can make proper decisions and move accordingly. The US dollar is quietly collapsing. The dominance of the dollar is on its way out. And if you really understand what that means, it should give you enough warning to prepare for what would happen before this fully hits.
And if we lost the world standard dollar, that would be like losing a war, a major world war. We would not be the same country any longer.
The full power of US dominance will not just go away by a news event. War will happen first. All the indicators are right in front of us. And I want to make sure you are told of this now so that it does not surprise you when it happens. So we're going to discuss the imminent collapse of the US dollar that's happening right now. Let's begin. Okay, so let me just say this. It is important that this information does not provoke fear in you. Please understand that fear is not an option. If you're preparing for the kingdom, these things, they must take place. I'm not telling you this to make you be fearful, but to be prepared, because they will not prepare you. The goal is to pull the rug from beneath you and make you desperate so you are easily transitioned into their new system. Over the past week, as the first half of the year ended, they have been in complete distraction mode, from speaking about Diddy to this flood that just happened, to Elon Musk starting a new political party. I mean, ridiculous events. Please do not allow them to distract you. This is really what you need to know has happened. Here's an article just posted on Monday, July 7th, from mainstream news source CNBC. Here's the headline. The declining dollar faces more headwinds after posting worst first half return in 52 years. The article then says, the US dollar tumbled 10.7% against its global peers through June, making it the worst first half since 1973. Fresh off its worst performance since Richard Nixon was president, the US dollar faces a variety of headwinds heading into the second half of the year that could have important investing implications. The greenback tumbled 10.7% against its global peers through June, making it the worst first half since 1973, back when Nixon broke the Bretton Woods gold standard. At its bottom, the currency hit its lowest point since February 2022. The path ahead may not look much brighter. That's because Many of the same factors, policy volatility, swelling debt and deficits, and potential interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve, just to name a few, likely will stay on the minds of investors as they seek other avenues for safe havens. Okay, so let's be clear that the US dollar has lost almost 11% in value against other major currencies in the world. It's an invisible decline in our purchasing power. You wouldn't notice it in your bank account. It's not seen unless you're paying attention. So let's say you have $100,000 in the bank. It's only worth $89,000 right now in relation to other currencies in the world. Let me just show you by some charts. I can show you by first talking about the SDR. The SDRs are special drawing rights. They are an international reserve asset. The SDR is not a currency, but its value is based on a basket of 5 currencies: the US dollar, the euro, the Chinese renminbi, the Japanese yen, and the British pound sterling. The SDR was created by the IMF in 1969, where currencies were tied to the price of gold, and the US dollar was the leading international reserve asset. When fixed exchange rates ended in 1973, the IMF redefined the SDR as equivalent to the value of a basket of world currencies instead of the price of gold. So basically, they priced the SDR based on the value of these 5 currencies instead of valuing it by the price of gold. Are using in order to justify the change that will come when the time presents itself. This is just like a television program or a movie. This is a narrative. You should pay attention to what the mainstream talks about in great detail and what they are not talking about, because that tells you if they got more to the story that they will be bringing out. Like, please think about the fact that these major nations just held a major meeting that was directly against the US-led world order, and you haven't heard mainstream media talk about it at all. I mean, what percentage of the public do you think even knows about this event and that these nations are attacking their current way of life? I mean, yes, we're seeing that Trump did speak about it, but did you hear about it from the mainstream?
No.
If they align with anti-American policy,
10% charge.
that would be India, Brazil,
That's
Russia.
right, they have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS. Because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge.
Is that immediate?
Yeah, pretty
If
soon.
they engage in something.
Well, if they're a member of BRICS, they're gonna have to pay 10% tariff, just for that one thing, and they won't be a member alone. I thought BRICS was, I said this about a year ago, and it largely broke up. But, there are a couple that hang around, but I thought it largely broke.
War comes first, and then famine, and then economic collapse. And that's just based upon the seals and the book of Revelation. What I am showing you is the narratives that they will be using that's behind the conflicts when they start. And what the biggest risk to you will be is being caught by surprise and then being attached to the anger and fear that will consume everyone else around the world. This is not just a United States problem, this is a world problem. The dollar is losing value and the system is currently being attacked. I am bringing this out because it's important that it does not catch you by surprise. What you should do with this information is this, but plan for problems with your money. I really wouldn't worry about housing being an issue initially. I think it's more important about losing access to things that once were regularly available, like food and water. And again, please be clear, I am not just speaking to the people in the United States, but everyone. Please be ready for a storm. Pretend a major storm like a hurricane is coming. What would you need if the power went out for an extended period of time? If you are sent to the arms of the government, you will be led right into their hands. I have been talking about this dollar collapse for a long time, and I hope that many of you have been preparing. Being mentally and spiritually prepared is most important.
Okay. Any comments on that? What you think? There's some feedback. Okay. Yeah, so like you said, this dollar collapse is a lot sooner than... Okay. Somebody have something?
Shalom. The last part that he said, to be prepared. Yes, to do, be prepared for things that might just do a quick crash on United States or like everywhere, like they've been doing with blackouts, places and things like that. But also investing more in knowing who the Lord of hosts is and how we can continue to put our faith in him and letting him do the power, just move strategically around the things that's happening. And even though that China is helping out, Russia's helping out, and then they're saying the dollar is going down, I do believe it's going to take more than just a decade for it to really fizz out and war breaks out in the next year or so. But it's going to take a while for that transition to happen.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So with that being said, nobody have any other comments on that? I'm gonna go to the dishes of Esther. This came up earlier in the week, and so I'm gonna read out of a little bit, most of it if I can, and to show you that just like all the other books in the Bible in the Old Testament, they've been tampered with and manipulated because they're trying to lead you to JC. So we're gonna look at this right here, and I'm gonna show you that we talked about it before, but I'm gonna show you that it's Malachi is the main character they call it the Book of Esther, but it's actually the Book of Mordecai. But I'm gonna start reading. This what I'm reading is the editions of Esther that's in the Apocrypha, right? It says, in the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, on the first day of Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jared, the son of Shema, the son of Kish, of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream. He was a Jew, and he lived in the city of Shushan, an important man in attendance at the royal court. He was one of the captives that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had brought from Jerusalem with Jehoiakim. Remember, I told you the 70 years was being counted when they came and got Jehoiakim, Jeconiah, king of Judah. And this was his dream. Behold, a noise and a tumult, thunder and earthquake uproared on the earth. And here came two great dragons, both ready to wrestle, and they uttered a great roar. And at their rear, every nation made ready for war to fight against the nations of the upright. So notice Mordecai got this dream, not Esther. Okay. The afflictions says, and behold, a day of darkness, gloom, affliction, and anguish, distress, and great tumult upon the earth. The upright nation was troubled, fearing their own heart, and they were prepared to perish. And they cried out to God, and at their cry, there arose a thought from a tiny spring, a great river with abundant water. The light came, and the sun rose, and the humble were exalted and consumed the glorious. And when Mordecai had this dream and had seen what God had resolved to do, he awoke. He kept it in his mind, and all day sought by all means to understand it. Now Mordecai took his rest in the court with Gibiah and Torah, the two royal eunuchs who kept watch in the court. He overheard their reflections and inquired into their design, and found out that they were preparing to lay hands on King Artaxerxes. And he informed the king about them, and the king examined the two eunuchs, and when they confessed, they were led off to execution. And the king wrote a memorandum about this matter, and Mordecai also wrote about it. And the king ordered Mordecai to be in attendance at the court, and he made him present present because of it. But Haman, the son of Amina the Bujan, was in high honor with the king, and he set out to injure Mordecai and his people because of the two royal eunuchs. Right? Then it says, and this is the copy of the letter. The great king Artaxerxes to the rulers of 120 provinces from India to Ethiopia, and to the subordinate governors, writes thus: having become ruler of many nations and come to have dominion over the whole world, I desire, not because I am elated by the presumption of power, but behaving always with mildness and moderation, to ensure that my subjects shall live in unbroken tranquility, and in order to make my kingdom peaceable and open for travel in all its extent, to reestablish the peace which all men desire. When I asked my counselors how this end might be accomplished, Haman, who excelled among us in soundness of judgment and is distinguished for his unfailing loyalty and steadfast fidelity, and was attained the second rank in the kingdom, pointed out to us that among all the nations of the world there is scattered and ill-disposed people with laws contrary to those of every nation, which continuously disregard the royal ordinances, so that the unifying of our realm, directed by us with the best intentions, cannot be effected. Understanding, therefore, that this nation and it alone stands in constant opposition to all men, perversely following a strange manner of life and laws, and ill disposed of our administration, and doing all the harm we can so that our rule may not be made secure. We have decreed that the persons designated in the letter sent to you by Haman, who is in charge of our administration, and it is a second father to us, shall all, with their wives and children, be destroyed, root out root and branch by the sword of their enemies, without pity or mercy, on the 14th day of the 12th month, Adar, of this present year, so that they would all along have been disaffected, may in a single day go down through the violence to Hades, and leave our government secure and undisturbed for the future. So this is a decree that went out. Haman, when you understand who Haman is, he's the son of the Amalekite king that the Lord sent Saul to destroy the Amalekites. But Agag, his name Agag. So Saul didn't kill Agag, but he kept Agag alive, contrary to what Samuel had told him. He kept Agag alive, but what they don't tell you in the story, which is in the editions of Esther, is that not only did Saul keep Agag because he was a giant, but he also kept Agag and his wife. He had kept his wife too, and his wife was pregnant at the time. Saul detained them, but during that night, before Samuel got there, if you go back to read the story, in 2 Samuel, Samuel took Saul's sword off his side, and he chopped Agag into pieces, because it was ordered by the Lord for him. Saul was supposed to have killed him, but by the time Samuel got there, Agag's wife had snuck away, and she got caught up in one of those caravans, same way Joseph did. Got caught in the caravan, and they took her to Persia. That's how Haman came on the scene. And that's why Haman is the one behind this order right here. He hates the Israelites because of what the Lord of hosts had them do to the Amalekites. So, like I said, this is not in the King James. It says, and she besought the Lord, right? So, after the decree had went out that they was going to kill all the Jews, all the Israelites on the 14th day of Adar. That was just the day that the decree was going to go out. Everybody in the 120 provinces had the right to pick up swords against the Israelites to kill all of them, right? So, because Haman wanted them all dead like they did them. And she brought the Lord, and she besought the Lord, Esther, calling to mind all the doings of the Lord, and said, Lord, you king, who rule over all, for all is your power, and there is no one who can oppose you when you choose to save Israel. For you made heaven and earth, and every wonderful thing under heaven, and you are Lord of all, and there is no one who can resist you, who are the Lord. You know all things. You know, Lord, that it was not in the insolence or arrogance or vainglory that I did this, and I refused to bow down to this proud Haman, for I would have been willing to kiss the soles of his feet to save Israel, but I had it so, but I did it so as not to set the glory of man above the glory of God, and I will bow down to no one but you, my Lord, and I will not do it in pride. And now, Lord God and King, God of Abraham, spare your people, for they are looking at us to consume us, and they desire to destroy the inheritance that has been yours from the beginning. Do not be indifferent to your portion, which you are ransomed to yourself from the land of Egypt. Hear my prayer and have mercy on your heritage. Turn our mourning into fasting, so that we may live and sing praises to your name. Lord, do not destroy the mouth of those who praise you. So, like I said before, look at this. This is just like sticking out. I don't know about nobody else, but sticking out like a sore thumb, because we just read that the dream came to Haman, to Mordecai. Mordecai the one, the dream came to Mordecai the one standing in the gap. Now it was Esther making a prayer. See that? It says, and she sought the Lord, which she can't do. She besought the Lord, calling to mind listen what she's saying, calling to mind all the doings of the Lord, and said, Lord, you king who rule over all, for all is in your power, and there is no one who can oppose you when you choose to save Israel. For you made heaven and earth, every wonderful thing that's under heaven, and you Lord of all, and there is no one who can resist you. You are the Lord, and you know all things. You know, Lord, that it was not in insolence or arrogance or vainglory that I did this, and refused to bow down to this proud Haman, for I would have been willing to kiss the sole of his feet to save Israel. See that? That's our pay grade. Mordecai would be the one that's doing this, which is actually what happened. They switched it over and put it on Esther. But like I said, it started out the dream that we had concerning this situation. This dream was brought to Mordecai. Now all of a sudden Esther doing all the praying. Yeah, I'll keep going. Verse 18, I think this is chapter 2. And all Israel cried out with all their might, for death was before their eyes. Then Esther, the queen, overwhelmed with deadly anxiety, fled to the Lord. See that? That ain't making no sense. Fled to the Lord. She took off her splendid clothing and put on a garment of distress and mourning, and instead of the rarest perfume, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she abased her body utterly, and every part that she delighted to adorn, she covered with her tangled hair, and sound like Mary to me, okay? And she prayed to the Lord and said, "My Lord, our King, you stand alone. Help me with who I am. Say, help me who am alone and have no helper but you. For my danger is in my for your danger is in my hand. For my danger is in my hands. Ever since I was born, I have heard in the tribe of my family that you, Lord, took Israel from among all the nations and our forefathers from among their ancestors for an everlasting possession, and that you did for them all that you promised. But now we have sinned before you, and you have handed us over to our enemies because we glorify their gods, and you are upright, Lord. And now they are not satisfied that we are in bitter captivity, but they have made an agreement with their idols to abolish what your mouth has ordained, and destroy your possession, and stop the mouths of those who praise you, and quench the glory of your house in your altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to praise unreal gods, so that a moral king may be magnified forever. Lord, do not give up your scepter to those who have no being, and do not let them mock at our fall, but turn their plan against themselves and make an example of the man who has begun this against us. Remember, Lord, make yourself known in this time of our affliction, and give me courage, King of gods and holder of all dominions. Put eloquent speech in my mouth before this lion, and change his heart to hate the man who is fighting against us, so that there may be an end of him and of those who support him. But save us by our hand, and help us who stand alone and have no one but you, Lord. You know everything, and you know that I hate the splendor of the wicked, and adore the bed of the uncircumcised, and of any alien. You know what I am forced to do, that I abhor the symbols of my proud position, which is placed upon my head on the day when I appear in public. I adore it, I abhor it like a filthy rag, and never wear it in private. Your slave has not eaten at Haman's table, and I have not honored the king's feast, or drank the wine of liberation. Your slave has no joy from the day I was brought here unto now, except you, Lord God of Abraham, O God, whose might is over all. Hear the voice of the despairing, and save us from the hands of the evildoer, and save me from what I fear. And it came to pass on the third day, when she had ceased to pray, that she took the clothes in which she had worshipped, and dressed herself in splendor. And when she was magnificently clad, she invoked the aid of the all-seeing God and Savior, and took with her two maids. On one she leaned languishingly, while the other followed her, carrying her a train. She was radiant with her perfect beauty, and her face was happy as it was lovely, but her heart was in agony of fear. And when she had gone through all the doors, she stood before the king. He was seated on his royal throne, clad in all his magnificence, and covered with gold and precious stones. He was an awe-inspiring sight, and he raised his face, burning with splendor, and he looked at her with the fierceness of anger, and the queen fell down and turned pale and fainted, and she collapsed upon the head of the maid who went before her. Then God changed the king's spirit to mildness, and in great anxiety, he sprang from his throne and caught her in his arms until she came to herself, and he reassured her with soothing words and said to her, "What is it, Esther? I am your brother. Courage, you shall not die. Courage, you shall not die, for our command is only for the people. Come near." Okay. Then he lifted the gold scepter and laid it upon her neck, and he embraced her and said, "Tell me." And she said to him, "I saw you, my Lord, like the angel of God, and my mind was dismayed with the awe of your splendor. You are wonderful, my Lord, and your face is full of gracefulness." But as she spoke, she fell fainting, and the king was troubled, and all his train tried to reassure her. Okay, so anyway, we'll stop right there. But notice, anybody got any comments on that? What I just read and what I said. What's your take on that? You got anything, any feedback? Okay, so like I said, we can do a comparison and contrast with this story right here and with what we talked about the other day. We talked about Rebecca. She had twins in her womb, and she asked all the women around there where she was at, have any other woman had a pregnancy like this? And all the women told her no, and no other, this ain't happened before. So what did she do? She went to Abraham and to Isaac and asked them to pray to the God of Israel for her. But this ain't what Esther done. That's what a red flag come in there. You got Mordecai there. Like I said, Mordecai the one that had the dream and the vision, but now they got Esther praying to the Lord God of Israel. Okay, I'll read a little more since we ain't got no feedback. It says, "The great king Artaxerxes sends greetings to the rulers of the countries in 120 provinces from India to Ethiopia, and to those who are loyal to our rule. The more frequent they are honored by the excessive favor of their benefactors, the prouder many men become, not only seek to endure our subjects, but in their inability to bear prosperity, they undertake designs against their better beneficiaries, and not only uproot gratitude from among men, but intoxicated by the boost of foolish men, they suppose they will escape the evil hating justice of the ever all-seeing God, and often many of those who occupy places of authority have by persuasiveness of the friends who have been entrusted with the conduct of affairs been made accomplices in the shedding of innocent blood and been involved in irremediable disasters. When such men, by the spacious fallacies of their vicious nature, beguile the sincere good will of their sovereigns, and what has been impiously accomplished by the baneful conduct of those who exercise authority unworthily, you can see not so much from the venerable histories which have come down to us as from the serenity of matters close to at hand, and in order to make our kingdom in the future tranquil and peaceful for all men, we would change our attitude and always decide the matters that fall under our notice with more considerable attention. For Haman, the son of Here we go right here. For Haman, the son of Hammedatha, a Macedonian. See that? So Alexander, I told you these Edomites. So Alexander was a Macedonian. Okay? And alien indeed from Persian blood, and widely removed from our kindness, being entertained as a guest by us, enjoy the humanity that we extended to every nation to such a degree that he was called our Father and was continually bowed down to by all as a person second only to the royal throne. So just like the Most High Lord of Hosts raised Joseph up in Egypt to be second in charge, we see right here Haman, the Edomite, was raised up second in charge in the Persian Empire. See that? Okay, read it again. Say, for Haman, the son of Hammedatha, a Macedonian, a Edomite, an alien indeed from the Persian blood, and widely removed from our kindness, being entertained as a guest by us, enjoyed the humanity that we extended to every nation to such a degree that he was called our Father and was continuously bowed down to by all as a person second only to the royal throne. Same with Joseph. But he, in his unbearable arrogance, designed to deprive us of our kingdom and to compass the death of our preservers and perpetual benefactor Mordecai, and see that, and of Esther, our blameless partner in the kingdom, together with their whole kingdom, demanding with intricate deception and intrigue that they be destroyed. For he thought by these means that he would find us deserted and would transfer the dominion of the Persians to the Macedonians. But we find that the Jews who were consigned to annihilation by this thrice sinful man are no evildoers, but are governed by most just Jews, and are sons of the Most High, most mighty and living God, who has erected the kingdom for us and for our forefathers with most excellent guidance. Therefore, please pay no further attention to the says who wrote consigned to annihilation by the trite sinful man, and no evildoer, but are governed by the most just Jews, and are sons of the Most High, most mighty living God, who has directed the kingdom for us and for our forefathers with most excellent guidance. Therefore, please pay no attention to the letter sent to you by Haman, the son of Hammedatha. So it's the mother. Okay, Agag was his father. Well, because the very man who was active in this has been hung with all his house at the gates of Susa for God, who governs all things, has speedily inflicted on him the punishment he deserves. Therefore, put up the copy of this letter publicly everywhere, and let the Jews live under their own laws, and reinforce them, so that on the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, on the very day, they may defend themselves against those who assail them at the time of their affliction. The God who governs all things has made this day a joy to them, instead of proving the destruction of the chosen race. So you must observe it as a notable day among your remembrance festivals with all good cheer, so that both now and hereafter it may mean preservation to us. Excuse me. and to our loyal Persians. But to those who plot against us, it may serve as a reminder of destruction. But any city or any country without exception which shall fall to the acts of in accordance with this shall be utterly destroyed in wrath, with fire and sword, and it will be made not only impassable for men, but also hateful to wild animals and birds of all time. So I'll stop right there. So that's the I was reading out of the editions of Esther. And so the reason it says the editions of Esther, because you got the book of Esther that they have in the Tanakh, and this is the addition to, like I said, this information in these editions that's not in the actual book of Esther that's in the King James. Okay. And like I said, the main thing about the edition of Esther is that Haggai had a wife, and she escaped before Samuel got there and killed Agag. She had escaped from the tent, and she had got picked up by a caravan and was taken into Persia. And she raised the boy up to hate the Israelites. That's the reason he was the way he was. And he wanted his whole mission was to exact vengeance on Israel like Saul did to them. Okay. Any comments or questions? No comments or questions? Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see everybody tomorrow. We got our Sunday Advanced Bible Study at 5 p.m. Central Time. I'll see y'all then. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.